In the summer of 2023, something unusual happened in America. Millions of people woke up and checked their phones. Emails, notifications, headlines. For some, it felt like freedom. For others, it felt like betrayal. Student debt forgiveness had moved from political promise to economic reality, and the question no one was ready to answer was simple but dangerous. Who really wins, and who pays the price? For decades, college was sold as the American guarantee. Work hard, study harder, graduate, succeed. But by the early 2000s, the price of that promise exploded. Tuition rose faster than wages. Families borrowed, students borrowed more. By 2008, as Wall Street collapsed, student loan debt didn't fall, it grew. By 2020, it crossed $1.7 trillion. More than credit cards, more than auto loans. This debt followed people everywhere. It delayed marriages, it delayed children, it delayed home ownership. Meet Sarah. She graduated in 2012 with a teaching degree from Ohio. Her first job paid $38,000 a year. Her student loan totaled $62,000. Every month, she paid on time. Every year, the balance barely moved. I did everything right, she said. Why does it feel like I'm trapped? Sarah is not a statistic. She is America. Then came the pandemic. In 2020, classrooms shut down. Offices emptied. Job's Benny said the government paused student loan payments. For the first time in years, borrowers felt what breathing room looked like. And something else happened. Spending changed. Savings went up. Defaults went down. Economists noticed. So did politicians. In 2022, President Joe Biden announced a plan. Up to $20,000 in student debt forgiveness for millions of Americans. The reaction was instant. Cheers, anger, lawsuits. The Supreme Court blocked the broad forgiveness plan in 2023. But the story didn't end there. Instead, forgiveness went quieter, targeted, strategic. Through programs run by the U.S. Department of Education, millions still saw their balances erased. Public service workers, income-driven repayment borrowers, long-term payers. By 2024, over $160 billion in student loans had been forgiven. Not promised, not paused, forgiven. So what changed? First, the consumer economy. When debt disappears, cash flow returns. Former borrowers started spending again. Not recklessly, but confidently. Cars, home repairs, small businesses. Mortgage applications rose among people in their 30s. The housing market felt it. Banks quietly admitted it. Debt-free borrowers are better customers. Retailers noticed too. Companies like Target and Home Depot saw stronger spending in areas with high forgiveness rates. Student debt relief didn't just help borrowers. It injected money into local economies. Second, the labor market shifted. Workers became less desperate. People stopped staying in jobs they hated just for loan payments. Teachers moved schools. Nurses switched hospitals. Entrepreneurs took risks. Small businesses quietly benefited. When people aren't drowning in debt, they negotiate harder and dream bigger. But not everyone was celebrating. Meet James. He never went to college. He worked construction since he was 19. Paid taxes. Bought his truck with cash. When he heard about forgiveness, he asked a simple question. Who's paying for this? And it wasn't a bad question, because forgiveness isn't free. The federal government absorbs the cost. Taxpayers carry the weight. Inflation feels the pressure. Critics argue the policy rewards borrowers and punishes responsibility. They point to rising tuition. If colleges expect loans to be forgiven, why lower prices? Universities like Harvard University and Stanford University have massive endowments, yet tuition keeps climbing nationwide. Forgiveness treats the symptom, not the disease. Then there's inflation. More money in pockets means more spending. At a time when prices were already rising, critics feared fuel on the fire. The Federal Reserve watched closely. So far, the impact has been mixed. Forgiveness didn't trigger runaway inflation, but it didn't help cool it either. The economy didn't break, but it didn't reset. Another group felt the change. Lenders. Private loan companies saw something coming. Less dependence, more skepticism, more regulation pressure. Companies like Navient faced shrinking influence. Federal loans became the focus. Private lending slowed. The power balance shifted away from service toward borrowers. Quietly. And then there's the future. Teenagers watching this now are asking a dangerous question. Should I even worry about debt? Parents are unsure what advice to give. Go to college. Go cheaper. Skip it. The rules are changing mid-game, and uncertainty is expensive. So who are the winners? Borrowers with forgiven debt, local economies that saw spend in return, workers who regained freedom, and the losers? Taxpayers who never borrowed, future students facing higher tuition. A system still broken at the core. Student debt forgiveness didn't fix American education. It exposed Italiano. It showed how fragile the promise had become, and how desperate millions were for relief. Here are the real financial lessons. America is learning. Debt controls behavior more than income. Forgiveness can stimulate growth, but only temporarily, and solving a crisis after it explodes costs far more than preventing it early. The biggest lesson? An economy built on permanent debt is not an economy, it's a pressure cooker. Relief releases steam, but unless the fire underneath is controlled, the explosion is only delayed. So now America stands at a crossroads, not asking whether forgiveness should happen again, but whether the system that made it necessary should survive at all. And the question that remains one that affects every taxpayer, every student, every worker is, should education be an investment that builds the economy, or a debt that quietly controls it?